Alex. It's been way too long. Good to see you. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Kelly, what's going on, man?
Well, I want to talk to you today about something that is tiny, but it was kind of a big phenomenon about 100 years ago, maybe even 200 years ago. It was something that people would go to entertain themselves, and it was something that people, I guess, thought was just the bee's knees at that time, but it wasn't really what they thought it was, right? And I want to explain it to you. But can you think of any kind of dumb things that people participated in the, 1800s that we don't do today?
Well, I know you've always wanted to talk about that bicycle with the big tires.
True.
What are those called again?
Penny farther.
Yeah, we haven't talked about those yet. But I'm guessing you're not doing that.
Nope.
And I'm not sure what a Nickelodeon is, but I know that's a thing.
Oh, yeah. This might kind of fall under that category of kind of, you might think of this along with a Nickelodeon type thing.
Be like early technology. Is it kind of entertainment? Based?
It was definitely entertainment. And what this was, you would go into this dark room as it might be part of a freak show. You remember freak shows?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that we ever went to freak shows, but you remember the kind of vibe.
Sure.
They would have these oddities and these weird things going on, and people would go and pay their nickel or penny or whatever it was, and they would go into this little room. And in this room, there weren't very many people. It was a small audience usually. There would be a master of ceremonies, kind of a guy. He was almost like a circus barker, somebody there that could talk loud and kind of keep the action moving. Mm-hmm. And then there would be a white table. And on this white table, you might have things like little tiny horses or little trapezes or little trampolines. And then there were the most amazing circus performers. And you know what they were?
Were they fleas?
They were fleas. Yes. I want to talk about the Flea Circus.
I haven't thought about a flea circus in a long time, but I don't ever really.
I've never thought about a flea circus until a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Wow, flea circus. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a thing.
I think our version of the flea circus was the sea monkeys.
Yeah.
But they always oversold the sea monkeys because they didn't do like what they were doing in the picture.
No, they didn't look like. I mean, they were brine shrimp, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, so I don't even know what a flea circus really is.
Well, let's talk about that. This is the dead end, and this is something that used to exist. Doesn't really happen anymore. But yeah, these trained, and I use air quotes, trained fleas would perform tricks. They would pull carts. They would spin wheels. They would dance. All kinds of stuff.
And fleas, just to be clear, fleas are like these almost microscopic little bugs that get on like dogs and stuff, right?
They are bloodsuckers, so that's their main source of food is sucking blood. They have to have a blood feed pretty often, although they can go a while without one. But yeah, they live on animals with fur. They can live on people. They can live in carpet. They're attracted to white socks because they're mostly blind and they just can see the difference between black and white. And if they see your white sock, they'll jump on it. You ever had fleas on a white sock?
No, I've never. I don't know if I've ever seen a flea.
Really?
I don't have a dog.
Yeah. Oh man, I grew up with fleas. Well, the amazing thing about fleas is that they're actually super strong for their size, right? They can jump. I think it's like 200 times their size.
But they're smaller than like a fly, right? Or like
they're smaller than a fly. Yeah, okay. They're like the size of a pinhead. If you imagine a pin, the little red or green or whatever color plastic head on the end of it, they're about that size.
So I'm not really clear on how you're watching them do circus acts.
Well, you would watch them, and again, they would appear to pull a cart or to spin a wheel or to go up and down on a seesaw. This was all done through trickery and illusions, okay? So they were doing things, but they were doing things because they were tied to these objects. And they were tied or glued using tiny, a magnifying glass, and then tiny little tweezers. And these people would use very thin, clear silk as thin and clear. It didn't have to be very strong because it's only holding a flea. And they would tie it around the thorax, or they might put a tiny dab of glue and glue this thing to it. And then fleas would, because they are trying to escape, they would try to jump and they would try to move. And whatever this thing had, if it had a hinge, it would react to it. These are super lightweight things. Often these little props were made out of cork or very thin metal. Imagine tinfoil, or paper, right? So these were very lightweight little things. And as the flea moved, it would look like it was operating this thing. So some pretty classic flea circus tricks.
No.
Oh, well, there was the flea chariot race. So they would put these fleas, attach them to a chariot with a little yoke. And again, this yoke had a little bit of thread that was glued onto the back of the flea. And when the flea tried to jump, it would slightly move forward because it's so strong for its size. And it would carry this or pull this chariot. And they might line up 2 or 3 of them. And then as soon as the fleas started going, they would all pull these chariots and one of them would go the fastest. Does that sound like good entertainment to you?
No. And it just strikes me that, sometimes we think about people from a long time ago because they didn't have the technology that we do today, that maybe they were reading or working or sleeping or doing things that were better for them but really, no, is a flea circus any worse than Jerry Springer or TikTok though? I mean, it's there's always been lowbrow entertainment, I suppose, right?
Well, it's, there's some people that say fleas are living creatures and shouldn't be treated that way, right? There's
Oh, well, but your question was, does that sound entertaining?
Yeah, I guess it was a novelty for people back then who thought that the whole thing was the showman would do things to kind of nudge the show. So sometimes they used magnets underneath. So these chariot races, sometimes the fleas would just be attached to them and kind of jerking around, and then a magnet would actually be moving these things. It was almost like a little magic show, right?
Yeah. Do you think that sounds entertaining?
Probably once. I'd probably go to see a flea circus one time,
Let's bring it back, man.
Pay my nickel.
Let's bring it back.
Let's talk about a couple of other flea circus classics. There was the tightrope walker. So the fleas have a tendency to twist and struggle, and they would actually be, instead of tied directly to the tightrope, there would be a little piece of thread tied to the tightrope that could slide along it, and then the other end was tied to the flea. So it would kind of like try to get away, and as it jumped, it would move along the tightrope.
Okay.
There was the flea cannonball. You've heard of the cannonball in a regular circus.
Sure.
This was where the flea would be in a little tiny cannon barrel made of something, shot from a tiny cannon barrel. And basically there would be a little puff of spark or talcum powder or something to make it look like somebody had lit the fuse. And then someone would blow into a little hole that would push it out through air, and there would be a net that would catch it on the other side, like a little piece of cloth.
I'm thinking the lighting is really important for this, for any of these, right? You said it was a dark room and the fleas are lit in a certain way. So you're almost watching almost a light show, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, this is before a lot of light technology. There might have even been
maybe candles.
Yeah, because there wasn't actually electricity in the early days of this. These were going on in candlelit rooms, or maybe rooms with sunlight.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do this in a fluorescent room.
No, it would give away all the tricks.
Yeah, so maybe in a way, the candlelit room or a really dark room with one candle.
Perfect place for a flea circus.
I could see lighting is really important for this.
Lighting was a big deal. Also, a lot of times they would include magnifying glasses that people could hold all over the table to look at them. And again, this maybe looks like they're giving away their trick, but a little dab of glue on the back of a flea tied to a chariot or connected to a chariot, you'd see the flea and you'd see the little chariot, but you wouldn't really know how it was connected. You would just see it jumping and pulling the chariot.
So did this all stop before video? Like, have you ever seen a video of this, or have you just read descriptions of this?
Well, I'm going to get to the modern day times of
Oh,
flea circuses. And modern day, I mean 20th century. Your favorite century, by the way.
sure.
Um, so the other couple of tricks that they would have was the strong flea that would have a dumbbell, quote unquote, that would lift it, or pull something that looked really heavy but actually wasn't. But fleas were very strong for their size. There was the dancing fleas. They would be tethered in place by their legs, and so there would be a little bit of music that would play, and then the fleas would kind of do like this because they were trying to get away.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of cruel, if you can be cruel to a blood-sucking parasite.
I don't understand why it was cruel.
I mean, would you want your legs glued to a table till you died?
Uh, I mean, okay.
They did, these fleas weren't like, they didn't put them in a flea bed at night and feed them and take them out for walks and brush them like they do show horses. These were basically one and done. These fleas would come in, do their show, die, and then they'd be replaced.
But if you had a flea on your leg, you would smack it and kill it, right?
Yeah, but it started it in that case.
Oh, okay.
Right? It's biting me, so I'm gonna that's defense. I'm defending myself.
Got it.
Well, the original most famous flea showman was a guy named Louis Bertolato, and he was called Professor Heckler. That was his stage name in the 1800s in London. Yeah, Professor Heckler. And he was actually credited with the first commercial flea circus. Now, there were flea circuses, amateur flea circuses before this, but it was in the Regent Street Bazaar in London. And again, he would do all these classic circus tricks, and it was very popular with the Victorian audiences at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they didn't have a lot of competition for their entertainment dollar. It must have been cheap too.
Yeah, I imagine, you don't become a millionaire proprietor of a flea circus, although maybe Professor Heckler did. He's famous enough to show up today in a search for him.
Was this like lower working class people that would go to this?
Oh no, I think it was the aristocrats as well as lower working class. This was discretionary spend, right? If you couldn't afford to buy bread, you didn't go spend your money on a flea circus. There was a guy named William Brock. He was the professor of the Flea Circus, and he was the best known flea circus operator in the U.S. during the late 1800s. And his big thing was that he educated fleas, and they would perform military drills, they would dance the waltz, and they would do chariot races.
Wait, what was the Heckler? Was he Professor Heckler, did you say?
He was Professor Heckler.
And then this guy was
William Brock was the professor of the Flea Circus.
I wonder why it was so important to be seen as a professor in this line of work.
Yeah, you could be a Flea Circus proprietor, right?
I don't think that I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah, bring it back.
Seems like there's a gap in the market for this right now.
Well, in an interview during later in his life, after he was retired, William Brock said that the fleas mostly did as they pleased, but the illusion of control was what delighted the audiences. And then, do you know the most famous poem about fleas?
No, I can't say that I do.
It was by a guy named John Donne, Donne, and he was from the late early 1600s during the English Renaissance. And he wrote a poem called The Flea, and I'm going to read a little bit for you. Mark but this flea, and mark in this, how little that which thou dost deny me. It sucked me first, now it sucks thee, and this flea our two bloods mingled be. And thou knowest that this cannot be said, a sin nor shame, nor loss of maidenhead, yet this enjoy before it woo, and pampered swells with blood made from two. And this, alas, is more than we would do.
Wow.
It goes on.
Did you say that was famous?
It is the most famous flea poem ever. But here's the thing.
That might be the worst poem I've ever heard.
It was considered erotic at the time. It was erotic flea poetry. And it was because it's about the blending of fluids. Between a man and a woman, and how when a flea, he's basically trying to convince this woman to go to bed because they both had a flea suck their blood and their fluids are already combined. And he's like, well, that's already happened, so why not take it further?
Wow. I have to say, I really can't stand Victorians.
You mean people from Victoria, Texas? I mean,
Yeah.
isn't that where Alfred Austin is from?
No, I just, whenever I think about the Victorian age, it's just almost everything they do offends me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the feeling was mutual too.
Well, I mean, back then this was very tantalizing and, like I said,
Wow.
kind of erotic. Might have been, like where you hid this poem under your bed sheets or something and read it at night. I don't know. and slept with the fleas. So let's talk a little bit about fleas and some of their amazing abilities. Can guess how many times their body length they can jump? I might have already said it.
I don't know, 4. No, wait, it would have been 400 probably.
200 times their body
200,
length.
yeah.
And they can pull, okay, get this. They can pull or lift more than 160,000 times their own body weight.
Yeah.
Which is the equivalent of a human pulling several double-decker buses.
Sure.
They can go for 100 days without a blood meal. They can hold their breath for up to a week. So you put them underwater, they could pull them out a week later and they still survived. And the egg-laying female, guess how many eggs she lays a day?
A day.
Can lay. 50.
I was going to say 50.
Yeah. 2,000 eggs in her lifetime. So their lifetime's pretty short. 14 days is pretty average. And it kind of depends on, their environment and all that sort of thing. They are blind, as I said, but they can tell the difference between light and dark. And so that's why I do believe that white socks, I used to wear white long socks, and we had a lot of dogs and several of them had fleas, and I would see them on my white socks because they stood out, but they would also, they reacted to the vibrations. Now, have you ever seen a close-up of a flea, like a zoomed-in, really detailed photo of a flea with a macro?
No, I don't even know what I'm picturing. I'm picturing like maybe a mosquito.
No, they don't have wings. They kind of mosquitoes are more torpedo-shaped. A flea is more like a football. It's kind of shaped like a little football with or if you imagine like if you took a piece of like a roll, like a dinner roll, and kind of bent it over halfway, they're actually pretty scary looking. Like if you look at them up close, fleas are very scary looking. Like if they were bigger.
Let me Google that.
Yeah, GTS.
See what we're looking at here. And of course, it's going to immediately give me a picture of the bass player for the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a little almost roachy looking.
Yeah. It's got a carapace, I think is what that's called, the type of skin that it has. So you asked earlier why the Flea Circus ended. So give me some ideas, some thoughts on why you think the Flea Circus might have ended.
Competition for, I think better entertainment, better technology. And it doesn't sound very, I don't know. It just doesn't sound very compelling. And I feel like once like you said it,
you wouldn't be a repeat. You wouldn't be a repeat viewer of.
So once you've captured everybody that would have possibly wanted to go to a flea circus, you got to move to the next town, I guess.
True.
Why do you think it ended?
A few reasons. Number one, fleas are very hard to manage. Like actually keeping a supply of fleas that have a short lifespan and being able to, keep them glued into their places, and then they die, and then you have to unglue it and redo it and all that sort of thing. But the bigger thing was people started to realize that, it wasn't rats that caused the plague; it was the fleas on the rats.
Really
caused the plague. Yeah. That was a big thing. That was how it was transmitted. Was the fleas would bite somebody, they'd be on a rat, they'd come into your house, they'd bite you, and then you've got the plague.
Like, and you're the one that wants to be all humane to these things.
I didn't say I wanted to be that. I've squished many a flea in my day. You actually can't squish a flea. If you found a flea on your sock and pulled it off and tried to use your finger and thumb and squish it, you can't squish it. You have to have some hard surface. So you could push it between two fingernails and it'll give a little nice satisfying splat of blood in between your fingernails, hopefully your own blood, not somebody with the plague. You can also take them and hold them down and use a razor blade and kind of chop them. But just to squish them, if you take it, like most insects, you could take it and just squish it and it'd be dead. A flea is so small and its body is just kind of like hard enough that it's like squishing a little, like a little sunflower seed or something. It doesn't squish.
Wow.
But the other thing that came along was mechanical replacements. So as I said before, sometimes they would use magnets instead of the fleas to move things to make it a little more exciting. They would use hidden gears. They would use air currents. These were all things that they would move the props around, and there wouldn't even be a flea. It would just be a little black dot that looked like a flea. So the novelty, but ultimately, yes, the novelty wore off and the charm faded. So that's why flea circuses don't exist.
You said there were some modern ones, though, that they're coming back.
Well, no. By modern, I mean all the way up into the early 20th century.
No. So have you ever seen a video of a flea circus?
Yeah.
Or have you only read about it?
You can find them. I have seen some in this whole research.
Was it impressive or not really?
No. Far less impressive on video than it is in person, and probably not that impressive. For 21st century people, it is pretty dumb.
Pretty lame.
But again, people back then were in some ways smarter and in some ways stupider.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
You don't think we should bring it back?
I'm probably not going to. I'm gonna save my time for other stuff. I think the flea circus is truly a dead end that deserves to be dead. So there you go.
Yeah.
Those are flea circuses, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time when we'll have an interesting dead person to talk about.
I'm the star of the show in a three-ring dream. My world's so small, but I make folks scream. A leap, a hop, I defy all laws. A king of the ring with no applause. No nets, no wires, no tricks, no lies. Just a flea on fire in the crowd's wide eyes. Step right up, don't blink, don't sneeze. The greatest show, the tiniest fleas. We juggle, we dance, we flip, we fly. A big top circus in a space this high. The elephant laughs, but he's got it wrong. I don't need tusks, I've got my song. I've got my jump, my daredevil spin. A circus so small it fits on your skin. We're acrobats, we're tightrope champs. We light up the night without the lamps. We're a carnival packed in a single breath, defying gravity, laughing at death. Step right up, don't blink, don't sneeze. The greatest show, the tiniest fleas. We juggle, we dance, we flip, we fly. A big top circus in a space this high.